Sure. Again, thanks for joining us today. Happy early Thanksgiving to you guys and your families. Kind of like you guys, we're adjusting our schedule a little bit this week for our guys to be able to, number one, get us prepared for the opportunity we have this weekend against Rutgers here at the Shell, but also, because of Thanksgiving and families coming in town, as well as honoring our 18 seniors or players that have exhausted their eligibility here. There's a lot of other things that are important, and so we'll adjust our schedule a little this week, and because school is canceled on Wednesday, we'll go earlier to give our guys time to handle the things they need to get handled properly, and also spend some extra time with their families. We'll go in the morning Wednesday and Thursday, which allows our players to get home for Thanksgiving, and then back in here Friday to recalibrate and get our minds on a big-time opponent coming in Rutgers. They're a good team. You look at Rutgers, top 30 on defense nationally in the passing game and total defense. I have a lot of respect for the job Greg Schiano does as a coach. I've known him a long time. He's one of those guys that has gone in and fixed programs and has had great success. And when you look at the way he's building the foundation there at Rutgers, you certainly can see it with the way they play. Really strong special teams. I know they lead the Big Ten in block punts or block kicks, and I'm sure he'll have his team ready to finish the season the right way. To recap last week's game against Ohio State, obviously, as I talked about in our press conference, was proud of the fight that our team showed against a top team in our country, not just in our league. But we didn't make enough plays when we needed to make to seize the opportunities that presented us, and to me, that's the next step. When you look at kind of our season in a nutshell, we've played the two of the top teams in the country really strongly, and it shows me that the progress is there. What's missing is the consistency, and that's on me as a leader to get our players to understand that the standard is the standard, and that everyone we play should be a faceless, nameless opponent, and get us to where we can play consistently that way like we played on Saturday. And so we've got the right guys in the locker room leading us. As I've said, this is a player-led culture team, and I like the way they responded after two tough outings against a really good team in Ohio State. Obviously, Saturday is senior day, as I said earlier. 18 guys that have laid a foundation for our program. This is a special group to me. Some have been here for a year. Others have been here from the time I got here, and there are a few that were here prior to me coming here. But each one of them has made an impact on our program that I think will be beneficial for us as we move forward, with the best obviously being ahead for our program. And these guys played a major role in jump-starting the turnaround, as well as laying the culture, the foundation of the type of culture we need to have to be successful here at the University of Maryland. So our captains for this week is our Dante Demas, Talia Tungavailoa, and then Jacorian Bennett will serve as our game captains going into Rutgers. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions you guys may have.
Mike, first off, how's Talia's knee, and how, if you could expand on how he bounced back from back-to-back weeks at Wisconsin and Penn State to have the day that he had against Ohio State?
Yeah, his knee is good. He practiced yesterday. He's a tough kid. He's taken some shots here the last couple of weeks, but he's healthy. He'll be available to play for us. In terms of how he bounced back, I was really happy to see him bounce back the way he did. I'm not surprised because of the type of week he had going into it. Prior to that, obviously there were we had issues up front on both sides of the ball, O-line and D-line, and as we've talked about, to win in the Big Ten in November, it starts with the trenches and being really sound and fundamentally sound, as well as being able to execute. And for the last couple of weeks up to the Ohio State game, we struggled. And for our quarterback, it's really important that we give him the best opportunity to be successful. It's giving him a clean pocket. It's allowing him to keep his eyes down the field and not look at the rush. And I saw how he prepared a week ago. I saw that he had that look in his eye. He was disappointed, not just in how he's played, but as a leader of our program, how we played. And I was really happy to see the way he bounced back and played probably one of his better games against Ohio State.
Hey, Michael, how do you put this season in perspective, considering bowl eligibility really early, last 3 weeks maybe haven't gone as according to plan?
It's hard to put everything into perspective just yet because we've got one left, so I'll try to avoid doing that. I can tell you that our goal is to take the next step. Being bowl eligible should be part of the foundation of what this program's about. The next step is to play championship level football. I think we're close. We're not there yet. I think we're close. And what needs to happen is the consistency that's necessary, not just when you play top teams in our league, but every team, because as we found, every Saturday in the Big Ten will be a challenge. And I think our players understand it, but it's up to me and the leadership I provide to get them to go out and get it done. And that's what we need to work on.
Hi, Coach. For those 18 guys that you mentioned that will have this Saturday their last game in College Park, are there things that you talk about, special things that you say to them during this week?
No, you know what? We don't, because we still have some season left. What we talk about is sending them out the right way, because this group is a special group and that they've played a major role in the turnaround that we've started here. Again, we're not there yet, but they've played a major role in solidifying the foundation for us to build on. And so is it time to give them their flowers this week? Probably not. We'll probably stay in their butts a little bit about preparing the right way to go finish the season strong, as every part of our program is built upon how we finish. And this is the opportunity to finish the regular season, but then we still have one opportunity post this game. And so it's a special group. We'll recognize them as we should, and their families, for the hard work they put into helping us get this program heading in the right direction, but there's still work to be done.
And Rutgers, you've finished the season at least the last 2 years. Do you see that sort of becoming a rivalry? And, last year, if I remember, the winner of that game was going to be going to a bowl. And so does Rutgers come in maybe with a little edge?
Well, I don't know if either of us have an edge coming into the game. As we talked about, anytime you show up on a Saturday in the Big Ten, you better bring your work ethic, and you better bring your hard hat and go out and execute, because anything can happen. So many times we want to make things rivalries, and again, that's not something a coach can do. We don't establish rivalries. Rivalries are forged over time, battles, whether it's in recruiting, battles, whether on the field. I can tell you, since I've been back here, I know in 2014, I can remember us being up 28 points and have them storm back with Ralph Friedgen as their offensive coordinator winning the game. 2015, we go up there. They're up ahead. We come back to win the game, which gave us our first win, or my first win as a head coach, as an interim coach here at Maryland. And then, 2020, we've had the pandemic, a late field goal, extra point, whatever it was, to win the game. They've been battles, and our players understand that this is not going to be an easy task. Again, the respect I have for Greg and the type of coach he is, he's a professional. His team plays hard. I'm sure the same things I preach, he's preaching in terms of finishing the season the right way. So I don't think anyone has an edge, and when it comes to rivalries, that's something that time will tell. You guys can make it out to be. For us, they're a common opponent that's in our side of our division. They're close proximity to campus. They recruit here, we recruit there. There's going to be some natural things that come along, but that's not for us to decide. That'll happen organically, I guess.
Going back to Leah, I know he cares just about the result, but to see the way he played on such a big stage the other day, how have you seen his ability to kind of handle those big moments grow and change through the past 3 years? Can you notice any difference in him?
I think Leah has a comfort level in our program now. Obviously, his maturity has really shown throughout his time here. Some of the things he's been able to get accomplished during his time here has just been great for our program. Proud of the type of leader he's become. I still think he has a lot of good football left in him and ahead of him, and I think that you'll only see him continue to grow and get better as our program does the same thing. So he's definitely, I've seen tons of improvement from him. The football piece is something he's always been pretty good at. I mean, you look at his track record out of high school, heavily recruited guy, has ability, great pedigree, and I think he's been a breath of fresh air for our program and what he's been able to bring.
Hey, Mike. I wanted to ask about Jacorian Bennett. He had a pretty solid game against Ohio State. I believe he held Marvin Harrison Jr. to, I believe, seven receiving yards on like one reception. I was wondering, how do you think he did against one of the better receiving corps you guys faced this year?
You know, I've been all year long, our corners are probably guys that don't get a lot of notoriety other than when they throw flags for pass interference. And I can tell you that, you know, every flag that's been thrown has not necessarily been pass interference. One of the toughest jobs on the football field is playing on the island. And both Jacorian and Deontay and Tarheeb, especially in this league, I think have performed at a really high level. As far as Jacorian, I mean, not surprising. This kid works at it. From the time he got here as a JUCO transfer a couple of years ago, then coming back to play a COVID year to give himself the best opportunity to create value for himself. He's a competitor. Obviously, we knew and understood what we were getting with the receivers at Ohio State, one of the talented groups or more talented groups in the country. He rose to the occasion. I think it was a collective effort. I just, you know, it's not just him. I know that Deontay spent time on him, but that group came and competed, and they really fought, and that's what I wanted to see out of our team. So I was glad to see Jacorian, Deontay, Tarheeb all play the way they played a week ago.
Sticking with Jacorian, I just want to ask, what has he mean? What has he mean to the program this year? And you mentioned could you expand on how he has created value for himself during his time in College Park?
Yeah, I think, you know, going into the end of last season, you know, he had opportunities to turn pro, and I think the feedback we got back was that he probably would be a mid to late round draft pick. Well, he's been invited to the Senior Bowl, which if you look at the tradition of going to the Senior Bowl, most guys that play in that game are first 3 rounds, first 4 round type of guys. So he's created that value to where he's has a whole nother year body of work for NFL people to evaluate him against some of the best in the country. The other thing that I think he's done for our program is the leadership that he's provided. You know, coming in as a quiet, kind of a selfless guy, I've seen him take major steps into becoming one of the loud voices in the locker room that's not afraid to call out a teammate or himself when not performing at the standard that we create for our program. And so tons of value. He's earned a degree from the University of Maryland. He's played great football, which I think will translate to Sundays and him having opportunities on Sunday, but also being a part of putting down the foundation that we'll be able to build upon.
Hey, Coach. Happy early Thanksgiving.
Thanks.
Wanted to ask, where did you feel you saw the biggest difference in your team between the 2 games against Penn State and Wisconsin and then last week against Ohio State?
The way we stood up and competed, the way we fought.
And then what does it mean to have that kind of performance and to see, you know, an uptick in the way that you guys played before you played these last 2 games of the season?
A little frustrating because it's what I've come to expect from this team. You know, as I said, the Wisconsin game kind of is on me as a leader because I didn't prepare us to go play in the type of wind weather that we got there. And so for me as a leader, it's my job to get them ready to play. The Penn State game was one that I just felt we got out toughed, and I've said that before. We got punched in the mouth and didn't respond. Can't tell you why. I mean, we're still trying to figure it out, but one of the things that comes along with building a championship mindset is consistency. And you know, we've shown some consistency in how we've played the Michigans and Ohio States of the world. The inconsistency is the thing that really bothers me because I don't see us as a team that is a front-running team, meaning we only do play well when we're going up against the best. I think we respect all of our opponents, and so that's something for us to take the next step. That is what it'll be about.
And Michael, when you mentioned this consistency aspect, how do you get there? What does it look like week to week?
It comes from within, and it comes with what you saw, how we played Michigan and Ohio State. A bunch of players taking accountability for their actions, leaders like myself and our coaching staff taking responsibility for putting them in the right situations and challenging them to. But it's a matter of just it usually happens from within, and that's what I talked about a week ago, that I was glad to see our players respond when I asked that question, where are we as a program? And to me, that was a huge, huge step for us.
You've talked on multiple occasions about the senior class kind of laying the foundation. Does this year in particular hold any special value to you, seeing that this is the first class, at least here at Maryland, that you've seen all the way from high school, freshman, all the way to senior under your.
Well, it's just that's not that class just yet. You know, we've got some guys that are part of that are going out that were here that I inherited, and they've become mine. So it's like when you have kids, they all are special in their own kind of way. I know every year I come up here, I'm sure I'll say this class is really special because it really is. And when you have kids, they all are different, but you love them all the same. And so this class definitely. You know, some of them are guys that came in with me 4 years ago and are leaving, but there are a bunch that I inherited that have put as much joy into me in terms of how they've accepted me and the things that we've brought to this program to get it where it is today.
Coach, Saturday, you had a lot of high school recruits sitting in one section, and some of which I recognize from being on the field on a lot of the high school games. Any feedback on how they took that, what would be a national broadcast game, and how they took a reaction, positive, negative, against the Terps?
You know, we've talked to recruits all week long like we do. The feedback has been obviously positive in that they like the way that we competed. They like the environment that was created in the shell with what we brought and with what Ohio State brings to the table. I think we have been in this position, the vision that we've sold in recruiting. I think they see it coming to fruition. Not there yet, but as we've told each player that we're recruiting here, we're recruiting you to come help us create and build a championship team. And I think the kids in this area and the kids that have shown interest in our program, we identify them as the type that aren't afraid to make decisions when they can go anywhere in the country to come play for Maryland and be a part of building something. It takes a special kind of kid. We got a lot of special kids in this area that believe in it and that have a lot of confidence in themselves. And you saw a bunch of those guys making plays for us on Saturday.
And Mike, it's supposed to be 56 degrees Thursday. Will that affect your game plan for Thanksgiving dinner? Do you script the first 20 bites? Do you look at film for previous years? And which sides of the Locksley household merit double coverage?
Well, I meal prepped for Thanksgiving this year. I anticipated that as the season goes on, I typically stress and I start out skinny and I end up a little robust. And so with the meal prep that I put into it, you know, I've got the cassava smoothie. I've got kind of the almonds there to kind of keep me going throughout the day. Plan on being very disciplined Thursday. Maybe hit a 2-minute drill at the end of the night as I put things away. But, you know, this week is all about sacrifices, and our team and myself have to make sacrifices in terms of very thankful for the time and the fellowship we'll get to spend with each other, but we've got work to do Saturday.
Will you be having any players over? I know in the past Rich had some guys over.
Yeah, we always do. We obviously, a lot of our guys are from this area. Most kids that are within a 2-hour drive, we allow them to go home. We'll be done by noon on Thursday. If they're not, the coaches all have kids that will come to their homes. We also have created a mentorship program here where our players have developed strong relationships with business leaders in this area that have become pseudo-family. And so I know a bunch of the mentors have taken kids in, and then I'll have my house open to any and all.
What's the side? What's the side that you got?
I'm going with the almonds. I'm strictly almonds, man. I'm showing some discipline and restraint this year, Dave. Thanks, guys.